Well, a great start to the month of February on this Thursday. Good to see that sunshine finally returning, and that coupled with a southwest wind pushing afternoon highs into the 50s. Could see a sprinkle possible. We got a weak boundary that's dropping in from the north for the first half of Groundhog Day. Otherwise, we're in good shape. A quiet weather pattern overall during the next week. That is very unusual for this time of the year, early February. And to add to that, afternoon highs are going to be a bit above average. We're talking upper 40s and low 50s most of the coming days ahead. So looking good in that regard. After the sunshine, a few filtered sunshine, a bit of it through the course of the afternoon as a few high thin clouds build in out ahead of this frontal boundary, which is stretched out just north of the I-70 corridor, south of Chicago, north of Indy and Columbus. Still looking good here in the Bluegrass, taking you downtown Mount Sterling, there at the corner of Main and North Maysville Street. A nice pleasant 52. Note your southwest wind. It is still up at about 10 to 15. That is going to be the case this evening, and that will go a long way to slowing our cool down. We're generally in the low and mid 50s now after topping out in the mid 50s much of the area. Look out west. They were above 70 St. Louis westward. You can think high pressure, which is setting over the panhandle of Florida, kicking up that southwest wind. There's your frontal boundary. It will drop in. Very little fanfare. Some of the data indicating a sprinkle or a stray shower possible. No issues at all this evening. Looking good out there. And notice how we stay in the 40s. I think out the door tomorrow morning, upper 30s. See a few specks of green out into eastern Kentucky. So if you feel a raindrop or two in the morning, don't be surprised. Now by the afternoon, we begin to work some drier air in as that boundary sinks to the south. But even with the sunshine, see the wind streams coming out of the north. That's going to bring some slightly cooler air, but we're still above average, so we'll be in good shape in that regard. So as we look ahead, we are going to remain dry. Things look good heading into the weekend. Fair skies and pleasant at south to southeast wind. Now, that system does go by to our south into the day on Sunday here. We'll begin to see winds shift around to the east and northeast toward the early part of next week. That will level our temperatures out, but overall, we're going to be in good shape. Looking back on January, look at some of these rainfall totals and just how much above we are for the month of January. So one thing that we have done, we started the year off very well relative to getting some water in the ground. We've also alleviated the drought you see here in northeastern Kentucky and down toward Lake Cumberland. Just abnormally dry. We're finally out of that moderate drought that we had and basically plagued the area since the end of the summer. So making some progress there. Heading into early next week, looking good. Again, that system to our south, it will throw maybe a few higher clouds, especially down south. And I mentioned that east to northeast wind, even with the sun, that's going to kind of level our temperatures out into the upper 40s to right around 50. Nothing to complain about. Remember, those average highs into the mid 40s, so we're in good shape. And speaking of, you don't see this in early February very often. Over the next week at this point, may not see anything in the way of rainfall. So tonight, upper 30s, maybe a touch cooler than that down south. It'll take a while longer before the clouds thicken up there. And then for your Friday, a little bit of cloudiness around early. Can't rule out a sprinkle or two, but as it clears out later on, we should rebound into the upper 40s to right around 50. Checking out 7-day forecast heading into the upcoming weekend. Of course, tomorrow's Groundhog Day. I don't think any groundhog around here will see a shadow, meaning spring's right around the corner. Now, some of the longer-term data may argue otherwise, but we'll get to that when the time comes. Great-looking weekend. There's that northeast wind, a few clouds around knocking us down, but still looking good, and afternoon highs remain in the low to mid-50s late.